Have you ever wondered how a civilization could last for 3,000 years, building pyramids that touch the sky, and then just vanish? This isn't a fantasy story. This is the real, epic saga of ancient Egypt, a tale of god kings, monumental ambition, and a decline so gradual it was almost invisible. Today, we're not just looking at dusty relics. We're going to unravel the complete story from the first pharaoh who united a kingdom to the legendary reign of Cleopatra and the final moments when this mighty empire crumbled. How did they achieve such greatness, and what were the fatal flaws that led to their ultimate downfall? Stick around, because we're about to journey back in time and witness the complete rise and fall of one of history's most magnificent civilizations. Our story begins over 5,000 years ago, along the fertile banks of the Nile River. Before the pyramids, before the pharaohs, Egypt was two separate lands, Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. Life was dictated by the river's annual flood, which deposited rich, black silt, making the land incredibly fertile. It was this gift of the Nile that allowed a civilization to blossom. Around 3100 BC, a legendary king named Narmer, or perhaps Menes, achieved the impossible. He conquered Lower Egypt and united the two lands, creating the world's first nation-state. He established a new capital, Memphis, and wore a double crown, symbolizing his rule over a unified Egypt. This was the dawn of the pharaohs, the beginning of a dynastic rule that would define Egypt for millennia. These weren't just kings, they were considered living gods, intermediaries between the heavens and the earth. This unification ushered in the Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids. And for good reason. This was a period of incredible peace, prosperity, and architectural ambition. The pharaohs commanded immense power and resources. They believed their divine journey continued after death, and they needed a spectacular resting place to ensure it. It started with the pharaoh Djoser and his brilliant architect, Imhotep. They built the first of its kind, the Step Pyramid at Saqqara. This wasn't just a tomb, it was a statement. It was a staircase to the heavens. But this was just the beginning. The ambition grew, culminating in the Great Pyramid of Giza, built for the pharaoh Khufu. For over 3,800 years, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world. Imagine the sheer scale of this operation. Tens of thousands of skilled workers, quarrying, transporting, and lifting millions of massive stone blocks with incredible precision, all without modern machinery. This era showcases a centralized government so powerful it could mobilize the entire state for a single, divine purpose. But this monumental spending couldn't last forever. The power of the pharaohs began to wane, local governors grew stronger, and the Old Kingdom slowly dissolved into a period of chaos and civil war known as the First Intermediate Period. Egypt had fallen apart, but Egypt's spirit was resilient. After a century of division, a new line of powerful pharaohs from the city of Thebes reunited the country, heralding the start of the Middle Kingdom. This era is often called the Golden Age. It was a time of renaissance. The focus shifted from building massive pyramids to more subtle expressions of power. Art and literature flourished, telling stories of heroism and the human condition. The pharaohs were portrayed as more human, as shepherds of their people, concerned with justice and welfare. They expanded their borders, built fortresses to defend them, and launched massive irrigation projects to increase agricultural output. Trade boomed, bringing wealth and exotic goods from across the known world. It seemed Egypt was back on top, stronger and wiser. However, this stability was shattered by the arrival of foreign invaders. A mysterious people from Western Asia, known as the Hyksos, swept into the Nile Delta. With their superior bronze weapons and horse-drawn chariots, they conquered Lower Egypt, ending the Middle Kingdom and plunging the nation into its second dark age. The proud Egyptians were once again humbled, ruled by foreigners for the first time. The humiliation of Hyksos rule lit a fire of nationalism in the hearts of the Egyptians in the south. Led by a series of warrior pharaohs from Thebes, they waged a war of liberation. After a long struggle, they successfully expelled the Hyksos and reunited Egypt, kicking off the most glorious chapter in its history, the New Kingdom. This was the age of empire. The Egyptians had learned a hard lesson. To prevent future invasion, they had to become the invaders. Pharaohs like Thutmose III, often called the Napoleon of Egypt, led military campaigns that forged a vast empire, stretching from Nubia in the south to Syria in the north. The tribute and spoils of war that flowed back to Egypt were staggering. This immense wealth funded some of the most famous building projects in history. The grand temples of Karnak and Luxor rose on the east bank of Thebes, while on the west bank, pharaohs were no longer buried in pyramids, but in hidden, lavishly decorated tombs in the Valley of the Kings. This is the era of legendary names: the powerful female pharaoh Hatshepsut, who ruled as a man; the revolutionary Akhenaten, who tried to change Egypt's religion to the worship of a single sun god; the Aten, his famous son, Tutankhamun, whose intact tomb gave us a stunning glimpse into pharaonic splendor; and the great Ramses II, a master of propaganda who ruled for 67 years, fathered over 100 children, and covered Egypt with monuments to his own glory. Egypt was at the absolute zenith of its power and influence, a true superpower of the ancient world. But no empire lasts forever. The long and prosperous reign of Ramses II marked a high point, but it also sowed the seeds of decline. His successors, often called the Ramessides, faced a host of problems. A new wave of mysterious invaders, known as the Sea Peoples, wreaked havoc across the Mediterranean, weakening Egypt's grip on its empire. The economy began to falter, strained by constant warfare and lavish building projects. Internal divisions grew. The priesthood of the god Amun-Ra at Thebes became incredibly wealthy and powerful, challenging the authority of the pharaoh himself. This internal strife, coupled with economic decline and external threats, led to the fracturing of Egypt once again. The New Kingdom collapsed, and the country entered the Third Intermediate Period. This time, the fall was different. Egypt became fragmented, often ruled by foreign dynasties, including Libyans and Nubians. The once mighty empire was a shadow of its former self, a prize to be fought over by rising powers. The final act of Egypt's long drama is known as the Late Period. There were brief moments of revival, where native pharaohs managed to drive out foreigners and restore a semblance of past glory. But the world had changed. Egypt was no longer the dominant power. It was caught between the ambitions of new, larger empires. First came the mighty Persian Empire, which conquered Egypt and turned it into a province. Then, 2 centuries later, a new conqueror arrived from the west, Alexander the Great. He was welcomed as a liberator from the Persians. After his death, his general, Ptolemy, seized control of Egypt and established a new dynasty of Greek rulers, the Ptolemies. They ruled from the newly founded city of Alexandria, which became the cultural and intellectual center of the Hellenistic world. These Greek pharaohs adopted many Egyptian customs to legitimize their rule, but they remained a foreign elite. The final Ptolemaic ruler was the one and only Cleopatra VII, intelligent, ambitious, and fluent in Egyptian. She desperately tried to save her kingdom by forging alliances with the rising power of Rome, first with Julius Caesar and then with Mark Antony. But her gamble failed. After her defeat and tragic suicide in 30 BC, Egypt was formally annexed by Rome. The 3,000-year-long line of pharaohs was over. Egypt became the personal breadbasket of the Roman emperor, its ancient culture and religion slowly fading into obscurity under Roman rule and the later rise of Christianity. From the unification by King Narmer to the death of Cleopatra, the story of ancient Egypt is a breathtaking cycle of rise, fall, and rebirth. It's a story of divine kings who built for eternity, of a civilization that created an empire, and of a culture that left an indelible mark on human history. Their pyramids still stand as silent witnesses to their ambition. Their art still captivates us with its beauty, and their story continues to fascinate us. A testament to one of the most enduring and magnificent civilizations the world has ever known. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which civilization you'd like to see us cover next. Until then, stay curious.